Hey everybody, this is Emily Whitney, and we're getting ready to do our second video called Your 20-Mile March. And today we're going to talk about long-term success through consistency. This is a really awesome principle, and it can apply to your life and your business. And so I'm going to tell you where this came from. So my information today is coming from a book called Great by Choice by Jim Collins. There's some really great stories in there, and he is the one who kind of coins the 20-mile march term and applies it to business. So that's a good place to look for more resources if you want to learn more about this. So in 1911, there were two teams of adventurers who wanted to be the first people in modern history to reach the South Pole. So we're going to talk about them each individually. The first one is Roald Amundsen, and the second one is Robert Falcon Scott. So this was back 1911, obviously. The distance to the South Pole was about 1,400 miles. The weather was very cold. It could easily reach 20 degrees below zero, and even in the summer months. And there were always strong winds, and this, of course, was a long time ago. So back before, there was a way to communicate. Once they had left, they were on their journey, and they didn't really have a way of communicating with other people if they ran out of supplies or needed help. So I'm going to talk about how each of them approached and prepared to go on this journey. The first one is Roald Amundsen. He was 39, and they're both about the same age. Robert Scott is 43. Roald Amundsen was huge in preparation. He did tons to prepare for this journey. He had already been to the South Pole before, trying to find a passageway to sail through, and he had kind of gotten used to sustaining himself and looking for every possible thing that could go wrong and preparing against it. So in this trip to go to the South Pole, he was from Norway. As part of his specific preparation for this trip, he went and apprenticed with Eskimos. He learned how to survive in the extremely cold weather, what kind of clothing to use, what kind of meats you can survive on. He learned that transportation down there was best with dogs, so he was an expert dog handler and became an expert skier, and was totally prepared for the unexpected. He was very consistent and very disciplined. So he planned with his men and looked at the time of year and when it was the coldest weather, and they decided that they had to go 1,400 miles, that they would break it down and make 20 miles their daily goal, that every single day, no matter what, no matter how cold it was, or if anybody was sick, or if they were feeling great, they would go 20 miles every single day, period. That's it. If they had a lot more energy, they would stop after 20 miles and conserve it for the next day, and they consistently moved down to the South Pole. Now let's contrast this with Robert Falcon Scott. He did have some experience, but not a lot of experience in the cold. He decided that he wanted to use ponies. What he didn't know is that ponies sweat, and their sweat turns to ice that encases them, and they really struggle in the snow. So he also used a new kind of motorized sled that didn't end up working very well. So what happened is they ended up having to drag their own packs by themselves the whole way. They started slightly further away. They didn't pack quite enough supplies. And then what they decided to do was they decided on good days, we can go tons of miles. They could go up to 60 miles on good days. And then on bad days, they figured that they would just hunker down, wait it out until the good day came, and then they would go double the time on good days. Now, the problem with this was if they had a really awesome day and they went really far, the next day they were often tired. And so they weren't as consistent as the first group. They didn't have any minimums, and they just went as far as they could when they could, and then they just took a break when they needed a break. The final result was the first group, Roald Amundsen, they made it on December 15th of 1911. They planted their Norwegian flag, they rested that afternoon and celebrated, and then the next day with the same amount of urgency, they turned around and they continued their 20-mile march to get home before the weather got horrible. By the time that Robert Scott got there, it was January 17th, 1912. It took him an extra 34 days to get there. And at that point, the other group had already turned around and they were well over 500 miles back on their way home. So they got home before there was any bad weather, whereas Robert Scott's group was discouraged when they got there. They kind of left him a note kind of saying like, here we are, we've conquered it. So they got this note and they were so late. They weren't even close. They were a whole month behind. So they turned around and struggled and headed back home. They were exhausted, and eventually they got painful frostbite, and all of his team, all 5 of his people, ended up freezing to death and dying. They were discovered years later with journals and things so that they could see what had happened to them, but none of them survived because they didn't plan very well, and they all got stuck in the freezing cold and never made it home. So the biggest difference was that consistency and that dedication of going every day no matter what, of getting it done, and not letting the obstacles that come up, whether it's a bad day or a cold day or something goes wrong, not letting those obstacles get in the way of that march, of that dedication and that discipline. So this is a quote from Amundsen. He said, "Victory awaits him who has everything in order. Luck, people call it. Defeat is certain for him who has neglected to take the necessary precautions in time. This is called bad luck." A lot of people think success is from luck, but basically it comes down to preparation, education in order, and consistency. So in doTERRA, how can we prepare for our 20-mile march? Well, there's a couple ways. First of all, and probably most importantly, are these oils right here. If you don't know how to use these oils, then you're going to want to get those out and start using them so that you have some good experiences to share with other people. They are awesome. This is a very product-based business. Most of us love the oils, that's why we're here. But if you don't have a lot of stories yet, then start sharing them and start using them more so that you have your own set of stories. Next are books. There are so many awesome personal development books, business books, health books. And if you read just a little bit a day, then you're going to build up this wealth of knowledge of personal development from available books. You can check them out in the library. They're free. You can download them on your Kindle. Lots of education there. Also over here, YouTube. I've got a lot of videos on YouTube. There's a lot of really incredible trainings on YouTube, many from doTERRA themselves, many from leaders in doTERRA. Tons of free education can be found on YouTube. Now be sure that whoever you're learning from, that they're a credible source so that you're not wasting your time. But there's tons of good information there. And then up here I have a picture from convention last year. Convention is an incredible chance to just pack your mind with tons of information. They have so many good professionals and experts that come every single year that it needs to be a priority that you are there no matter what. It costs about $150 for a ticket. If you get in early, you can always find a ticket. If you're late right now and you don't have a ticket, then I would be talking to your upline leaders because usually they become available when other people can't go. But that is critical that you find a way to get there and absorb that information because that is going to make you grow even faster. They say that those that attend convention are 7 times more likely to promote to silver. And silver is the first step of the bonus pools and where the bigger incomes really begin. So the next thing you can do is practice. Here I've got a couple pictures of booths, and then this is a table for a class. And just sitting down talking with people one-on-one. You can pack your brain with all kinds of education, but there is something magical that happens when you get in front of a crowd and go to just share the knowledge that you know. Don't forget that experience is a very important form of preparation. It is part of preparing yourself. The best way to learn how to teach a class is to just jump out and try it. A lot of people in doTERRA get in this pull where they want to know everything before they try to teach anything. And so I want to encourage you to look at it more as a stepping stone. You really need to develop your personal knowledge, but you also need to develop your experience at the same time. If you keep developing your knowledge, you're never going to make any income and you're never going to be sharing it with people. And if you're out there teaching classes every second but not knowing what you're doing, you're also going to have a few stumbling blocks. So you want to do them hand in hand. You want to learn a little and you want to get out and try a class. Because the first time you try a class, you are going to know more than they know just by the sheer fact that you're in doTERRA using your oils and they probably don't know anything about oils yet. And so a basic class is something that you can totally teach. You have the knowledge and the ability to do it. You just have to get out and try it. And then once you teach, you're going to look back and say, okay, I actually knew more than I thought I did. I could know more about this and this and this, and I was maybe a little uncomfortable in this part of the class. And that's what you're going to use to go and get more knowledge. Then when you learn more, it applies better because you know how it feels to be up there. So you're going to go and learn more, and then you're going to teach another class and implement what you've learned. And it needs to be this back and forth stepping stone where you're doing both at the same time consistently. All right, so let's talk more about the 20-mile march. Having a 20-mile march requires hitting specified goals and performance tasks with consistency over a long period of time. So this isn't a 3-month sprint or a Diamond Club adventure. This is what we're going to do with our business every single month consistently for as long as we can, for as long as we want to have our business. All right, so what makes a good 20-mile march? Here are the different markers that you want to look for. You want clear performance markers, things that you can easily define, and we'll talk about those in a moment. You want them to be realistic to achieve. If it's totally out of this world and it's something you've never done before, like my 20-mile march is to help 20 people get started every month, that's not realistic unless you are really working this as a full-time job, 8 hours a day out there talking to people. Then it will be more than realistic. But look at something that you don't just want to do for 3 or 4 months. You want to do this forever. Your long-term goal that no matter what will keep you stepping in the right direction consistently. Constraint is something that you want to consider. You can shoot for 20 people, but if you burn out because you hit it 1 month and you can't hit it again, then that's a little bit too much for your 20-mile march. You want something that you can do day after day without burning out. You want it to be in a consistent and appropriate time frame. So a lot of big companies like Southwest Airlines and Intel, they have 20-mile marches and they usually do them yearly. They can consist of increasing your revenue by a certain percent or increasing each year and being profitable. But you want to choose the time frame that you're going to have. For this challenge, we're doing a monthly 20-mile march so that consistently we can measure it month by month by month. You can break that down and you can do it in even a smaller time frame. You can have it be a weekly 20-mile march or even a daily 20-mile march, but pick a consistent time frame and we're going to set our goals for that time frame. It needs to be achieved with a high level of consistency. That means that if you can only do it every other month, then that's not a good 20-mile march. That's a sporadic 20-mile march, and there's no consistency there. So it has to be something that you can do every single day, every single day, every single day in order to hit it, or month by month by month. And then lastly, you need to create your 20-mile march. It's created by you and it's enforced by you. This is your business. You can have your uplines guiding you and helping you do what you want to do, but it is up to you to make things happen. You are the driver. You are the one that determines your income by how much you put into this. So you need to create your own 20-mile march, and then you need to be the one to enforce it so that you make sure it happens. Okay, so let's talk about clear performance markers. These are setting goals for measurable money-making activities. There are a lot of things out there that won't make you money. These are the things that will make you money. Firstly, teaching classes. There is a lady in doTERRA. Her name is Diane Shepard. She worked with a cooking company before she came to doTERRA. And in her cooking company, she taught 2 classes a week. That's what she did. It was what she did to earn the amount of income that she needed. So when she joined doTERRA, she just said, you know what? I'm just going to carry that over and I'm going to teach 2 classes a week until I make the amount I need to make. Well, she finally hit her $10,000 a month goal after 18 months of teaching 2 classes a week. So if you really think about it, she went out, let's say Tuesdays and Thursdays for 4 hours a night, maybe 3 hours a night. That's 6 to 8 hours a week of teaching. And it's $10,000 after 18 months. That's residual income that she's going to keep earning month after month. Now, it's been at least a year or 2 since she hit that mark, and I know she's making well over 50 grand a month. So it's something that you're going to build on forever. It's going to be worth it, but you have to be consistent if you want to see the results. So teaching classes is one of those first things. Presenting doTERRA through one-on-ones, meetings, or phone calls, or this could also even be Facebook messaging. This can be reaching out to people. Some people choose to have a 20-mile march of contacts. So they say, okay, every single day, I'm going to contact 3 new people. And you can say Monday through Friday or Monday through Saturday. But your goal is every single day to contact 3 people no matter what. I've heard people have that 20-mile march and it's been very successful for them because they're consistently sharing. And it doesn't matter how they find them. They can find them in the grocery store, in the bank. They can find them online, but they're just looking to just share with people. You can give them samples or you can just reach out. That's another good 20-mile march. Sharing samples, following up. We know that the fortune is in the follow-up. A lot of us give out samples all the time, but then we never double check and see how they like the samples, what worked for them, what didn't. There was one time that I mailed samples out to somebody one weekend, and I remember I gave her about 3 or 4 different samples, but she just had a lot of different things. And I just thought, okay, I hope one of these is really awesome for her. Well, she got them right out of the package and used them all weekend. And within 3 days, she had about 6 awesome experiences just from the samples that I sent her. But you won't know that if you don't take the time to follow up with these people. She was super excited. She turned around, got herself a kit, and now she's using her oils and loving them. But following up is where you're really going to be able to help people step in and enroll, which is the next money-making activity, helping them get started with their own account. And then another one is teaching people about the Loyalty Rewards Program, also known as LRP program. A lot of people that aren't on this program don't understand that it's very flexible and that it has tons of awesome benefits and rewards. So if you spend time teaching people about that LRP program, they're going to jump in because they're going to get a lot more for their money that way. And that's going to help build the consistency in your business. Okay, here are some non-money making activities. If you're ever there being the one that says, I am working so hard and I'm not making anything, that's a good time to examine what you're doing with your time and see if you're doing things that really aren't making money. So social media, while it can be a great marketing tool, if you spend all of your time with social media and you're not doing those other money-making activities, you're not going to ever make any money. You're just going to have a name for yourself, which isn't bad, but you want to have some income to support your family with, and that's going to come from the money-making activities. So talking to people without a purpose, if you're on the phone all day chatting it up with people and networking is totally awesome, but if you're not introducing doTERRA to those people, you're just wasting your time talking and sharing ideas. When you're introducing it to new people, that's when you're going to be able to help people get started, and that's going to come back and benefit you. Trying to convert people. With this, I mean looking at other companies that might be similar and trying to get their people to switch over to us. I have people contact me all the time and say, well, what do you do when another person from another company comes and tells you this? And in my opinion, I think, well, if they're happy with what they have, that's wonderful for them. I am looking for the people who want to better their health and don't have these tools. And so I'm going to go for those people it's going to make the biggest impact in their life. And I'm not going to waste my time arguing with those about what's better and what I believe, because I'm already very well converted to doTERRA and I've had wonderful experiences with them. And I wouldn't want somebody else wasting their time trying to get me to go to a different company. So I'm very happy where I am. The next one is your quest for perfection. Sometimes we just spend so much time preparing without teaching. And that's one of those non-money making activities. It will help you make money when you are teaching in between, so you're bettering yourself. But if you're only working for that perfect class before you ever teach it, then you're not going to be making any income back. And then other time-wasting activities. I know it's really easy to turn on the TV, turn on Netflix, or get distracted while you're down in your office. Not that that ever happens to me, but those kind of things, they just drain time. And so keep them in check and balance and don't count them during your work time. Shut them out of your work time so your work time is very productive and you can be moving always in the right direction. All right, so we need our 20-mile march to be realistic and consistently achievable. So back to, we're going to have a time frame. So a day, a week, a month, you decide. You're going to write down your plan. You have to write it down and lay it out so you know exactly what it is, and it is very definable. It has to be achievable so that you can hit it month after month after month after month after month consistently, or yearly or daily or weekly, whatever you decide. And then it has to be created by you. This is your business. You're the one who creates it. You're the one that's going to follow through and make sure it really happens. Okay, so creating your own 20-mile march. Right now for this challenge, I have it set up as a 1-month time frame. So we're going to do this every single month over and over and over again. Now it is your 20-mile march, so you're free to change that if you would like. This is a great starting point though, and for the purpose of our challenge, you'll need to do these things to earn the bonuses. But if you're just starting out and you're figuring out where you want to go, this is a great place to start, and then you can check it out and alter it until you find the right groove for you and what you want to do as your own 20-mile march. I'm a big believer in classes. I would have a minimum amount of people that you want to have there and try to overbook your classes so that you always end up reaching the same amount of people and doing one-on-ones. Now, you don't necessarily have to do both. Some people find they really like classes better, or other people really like one-on-ones better. What I would encourage is that you have a number that you want to reach. I'll at least teach 12 people a month, or 20 people a month, or 30 people a month. and you pick a number of what you're going to do, and then you track it and you make sure that each month you are reaching that many people. Then participating in monthly trainings or weekly trainings, you want to, keep that time down. You can't spend all of your time doing that, but fit it in every week so you know what's going on with your team, and so you're bettering yourself. Same with that personal development. Some people do an hour a day. You can split it up to a half hour or 15 or 20 minutes, but be sure that each week you're getting some personal development in. I would always recommend having a coaching call, but you don't want to get lost in coaching. If you do it for an hour a week or more than that, that's kind of a lot of time. I don't think leaders necessarily need that much unless you're doing a huge push or discussing something very specific. But a 10-minute call to just talk about your structure and who you're helping out with your upline is always very beneficial. And just to be in touch and to be working together. I also find that when you're in touch with your upline and your leaders, it is just way more fun. It's more fun to work together. And so do that. Be in contact with them so that you can work together. And then setting work hours. Some people decide, I'm going to get up and I'm going to work from 8 to 12 every day, and then they add their classes in at night. Time frames are also very helpful if you want to define your work hours so that you're actually getting 8 hours of work in a week, or 10 hours, or 4 hours, but some consistent amount where you know that work will always be getting done. And then I would recommend defining what is the most important things you need to get done and getting them done and knocked out of the way first. And then this last one is enrolling one new person a month. Now, these are kind of the bare minimum skeletons. This is if you want to just keep moving in the right direction, slow and steady. In the book, Jim Collins, he recommends that you do this with a high intensity, that you make it this exciting thing that's always pushing you. So he would probably recommend doubling or tripling this, and that is going to move you along this path of success a lot faster than doing these bare minimums. So I kind of set these up for the summer so that we could all just keep moving in the same direction. But I would really recommend, if you want to be serious about this and build, I would recommend upping these numbers and having it be your bare minimum just be a little bit higher. So your challenge is to create your 20-mile march. For the sake of this challenge, we're going to do what I've outlined for these 3 months if you want those bonuses. But then after that, I want you to have your own 20-mile march ready, set, and prepared so that you can jump into that and keep that consistently throughout your whole time in doTERRA as you work. And if you ever need to alter it, you're more than welcome to alter it. But whatever it is at that moment, that's what you are fighting for. So the first part is to create it. And the next part is to do it with fanatical discipline. This is also something that Jim Collins talks about. These people that have successful 20-mile marches, they set their goals and then it's like a do or die thing. If you think about the 20-mile march down to the South Pole, that was a do or die thing. The people that did it, they made it home safely. They didn't have any problems. The people that didn't, they literally died out there because they didn't have the consistency and the discipline. So if you're going to apply this to your life and you want this money to take care of your family, to get your husband to stop working his job or to stop working your job if you're the one that's working and supporting your family, this has to be the most important thing you do. You have to get these minimums done, whether you're sick, whether there's a problem, whether there's a bad day or a bad month. You have to figure out a way to get those classes in. You have to figure out a way to get your enrollments in. So if it is the last day of the month, you need to be on the phone looking for that person to enroll, or those people if you're going to enroll 2 or 3 as your bottom line. You have to make it like do or die, or else you will not be progressing. There's just nothing that will keep you moving along the line if you don't have that kind of a commitment. So I would be working early in the month to get all of the things out of the way that you want to accomplish monthly, but keep in mind that it needs to be so very important that if it is the last day of the month or the last day of the week, whatever your time frame is, and you haven't done it, that's what you're doing. You are getting it done without anything getting in your way. You're on the phone, you're offering incentives, you're calling everybody you can think of, and just to make sure you hit whatever the minimums are that you create. It has to be the number one thing. If you make it the number one thing and you are totally disciplined at that, I promise you that you will always be moving forward. You will see your income build upon itself month after month, and you might have some setbacks here and there, but that kind of discipline and that kind of commitment will get you where you want to go. It will help you reach that why, whatever it is that you're doing doTERRA for. It will give you the power to do it. It will give you you the income and the freedom to achieve whatever you want. You just have to decide what those goals are and consistently work to do them over and over and over, day in and day out, with fanatical discipline. So create that 20-mile march, put it in a prominent place so you can see it and read it every day, and commit to do it no matter what. You decide how intense it is, but be sure to choose something that you can commit yourself to and live by. And that's it for this call. This is Emily Whitney helping you achieve your doTERRA business goals.